My name is Madison Cole, and I'm 32 years old. The night my boyfriend called our future marriage a statistical risk, something small and exhausted inside me put down the champagne flute, pushed in her chair, and quietly walked out of the version of me that still thought love was the same thing as trust. We were sitting in the corner booth of our favorite restaurant, the one with dark wood, soft lighting, and the endless bread basket Ethan always pretended to be too healthy for before eating half of it anyway. The server had just refilled our wine glasses. My phone still had the email from our Realtor open, the subject line glowing like a promise. Seller countered, "If you go up another 50K, the house is yours. Our house, our dream house." I could see it in my head as clearly as the candle flickering between us. The blue shutters, the kitchen with the ridiculous farmhouse sink Ethan pretended not to care about, and then sent me faucets on Instagram at midnight. The tiny room off the stairs that we'd argued over, my office, his gaming room, maybe a future nursery someday if we got that far. We'd been together for 4 years, engaged for 8 months. Our wedding was 3 months away. Everything in my life felt like it was pointed at this one exact moment in time. A house, a new last name, a marriage, a life. Ethan swirled the wine in his glass, shoulders relaxed, tie loosened from work. "So," he said, like he was easing into a weather report, "I've been thinking about where we're going to live after the wedding." I smiled automatically, the way you do when you think you know the script. "Yeah? Janine thinks if we push the offer another 50, the sellers will accept. I was going to call her tomorrow." His mouth twitched. Not quite a smile, not quite a frown. "About that." My fork hovered halfway to my mouth. "About the house?" He took a breath, looked at me like he was about to explain compound interest or tax brackets, the kind of patience people use when they're assuming you won't understand. "I've decided," he said, "to keep my apartment." I froze, the pasta on my fork suddenly heavy. "As what?" I asked, trying to keep my voice light. "A rental? An Airbnb? Investment property?" I was already rearranging budgets in my head, moving numbers, being flexible, being understanding. The things good partners do. He shook his head. "No, just to keep, for me." I blinked. "I don't follow." He leaned forward, elbows on the table, voice soft, like he was being reasonable, like he was doing me a favor by looping me in. "Look, Mads, statistics show a lot of marriages don't work out. Half, sometimes more, depending on whose study you look at. It's not emotional, it's just math. So I think it's smart if I keep my place. Just in case things don't work out between us." He said it so calmly that for a second my brain rejected the words like bad code. "Just in case," I repeated slowly. "Right, it's like insurance," he went on, brightening because he'd found his metaphor. "You have car insurance, health insurance, renter's insurance. You don't plan to wreck your car or get sick, but you'd be stupid not to prepare. This is the same. Practical." He gave me that boyish, charming smile that used to make me melt. I'm being responsible. The restaurant sounds, clinking silverware, low music, laughter from the bar, all faded to a dull hum underwater. I stared at him, cataloging details, the way his fingers traced the condensation on his glass, how he didn't look nervous at all, how there was no tremor in his voice, no hesitation. He had practiced this speech. "How long have you been thinking about this?" I asked. He shrugged. "A while. I didn't say anything because I didn't want to stress you out with the logistics. But now that the house is almost locked in, we need a real plan, you know?" A real plan. Our wedding was 3 months away. He had watched me pin paint colors and light fixtures, listened to me talk about pantry organization and where we'd put a Christmas tree, and somewhere in the background of all of that, he had been planning for our divorce. My chest felt tight, like someone had wrapped plastic around my ribs. "So let me make sure I understand," I said. My voice sounded too even, distant. "Your plan is, I move out of my apartment, move into the house, we start paying a mortgage, and you keep paying rent on your current place, just in case you want to move back there if we split?" He smiled in relief. "Exactly. You get it. It's just a safety net, Mads. Nothing has to change, really. We still get the dream house. I'm just not burning all my bridges." I looked at him across that candlelit table and realized something terrifyingly simple. He was already halfway out the door. He just wanted me to decorate the hallway. "Don't take it personally," he added quickly when he saw my face. "It's not about you. It's about reality. You never know what might happen. People change, jobs change, feelings change. I'm just thinking ahead. My fingers unclenched from around my fork. I set it down carefully, like I was handling glass. Right, I said, reality. He relaxed again. Exactly. You're always so logical. I knew you'd understand. So you'll call Janine tomorrow about increasing the offer? It was surreal how cleanly he slid from I'm keeping my escape hatch to go spend more money on our future. My future. Our server appeared with dessert menus and some chirpy line about their seasonal special. I smiled. I nodded. I heard myself ask about the chocolate tart, like I wasn't sitting in the debris of a life I'd been building. Sure, I said finally, meeting Ethan's hopeful eyes. Smart thinking. His shoulders dropped. Relief softened his face. Thank you. I knew you'd see it that way. We finished dinner talking about centerpieces and playlists, like he hadn't just cracked something vital open and scooped out the trust. He kissed my forehead outside the restaurant, hands warm on my shoulders. You're the best, he murmured. We're going to have an amazing life. On the drive home, his words ricocheted around the car like an echo in an empty room. Amazing life. Just in case. He dropped me at my apartment door with another kiss, already talking about his gym plans for the morning. I watched him walk back to his car, keys jingling, shoulders loose. No tension, no regret. He genuinely thought he'd made a reasonable, adult decision. When the door closed behind me, the silence of my one bedroom wrapped around me like a blanket and a chokehold at the same time. The soft lamplight. The stack of wedding magazines on the coffee table. The Pinterest board open on my laptop, full of kitchen inspo for a house that suddenly didn't feel like ours. I toed off my heels and sank onto the couch. My reflection in the dark TV screen stared back, eyes wide, lipstick still perfect, foundation cracked around the places where tears wanted to go, but hadn't yet. I replayed his voice in my head. You don't plan to crash your car, but you'd be stupid not to prepare. He wasn't preparing for a crash. He was assuming we were the kind of people who would steer straight into a wall. Don't take it personally, I whispered to no one. It's just our marriage. A different part of me, the one that handled spreadsheets and client negotiations and complex projects at work, slowly sat up inside my skull. If he was allowed insurance, so was I. On the coffee table, my phone lit up again with the email from Janine, our realtor. I picked it up, thumb hovering over the reply button. Tomorrow, he'd expect me to call her and say, we'll go up 50. He'd expect us to sign more papers, lock in more deposits, funnel more of my savings into a house he already had 1 foot out of. I opened a new message instead and hit the call button. Janine answered on the second ring, her voice brisk and cheerful. Madison, I was just thinking about you. Did you and Ethan talk? Are we going in higher? I stared at the framed vision board on my wall. Photos of families on porches, dogs in yards, holiday lights wrapped around railings, all the versions of home I'd carried since I was a little girl. My voice came out steady. Hi, Janine. Actually, plans have changed. There was a pause. Changed how? I need to withdraw our offer on the house. Silence. I could almost hear her blinking. Withdraw? But you were so close. The sellers would probably accept another 15, 20 at most. Is everything okay? Did something come up with the inspection? We can negotiate repairs. No, I said, cutting gently through her words. Nothing's wrong with the house. I'm just reconsidering my options. Are you sure? She asked. I don't want you to lose a property you love. I looked around my apartment. It was small, sure. The kitchen cabinets were dated. The view was a brick wall. But every inch of it was mine. Every bill in my name. Every choice unshared. For the first time all night, my lungs filled all the way to the bottom. I'm sure, I said. Please withdraw the offer. All right, she said slowly. I'll make the call first thing in the morning and send you confirmation. Thank you, Janine. I hung up and set the phone down, heart pounding, ears ringing with the quiet. Across town, I pictured Ethan climbing into his bed in the apartment he suddenly valued more than us, sleeping soundly, confident that his backup plan made him smart. I leaned back into the couch, staring at the ceiling. If he gets to protect himself, I whispered into the empty room, so do I. Somewhere between my chest and my throat, that small, exhausted version of me who'd walked out of the restaurant, sat down at a different table, alone this time, spine straight, eyes open. The dream house was gone, but for the first time in a long time, I had something better, a plan of my own. The next morning, sunlight spilled through my curtains, sharp and clean, the kind of light that doesn't let you hide under soft lies anymore. Ethan texted at 7:03 a.m., Ethan, morning, babe. Don't forget to call Janine. Let's get that counteroffer in. I stared at the screen for a long time, the blue bubble glowing like it belonged to a different world. Then I typed back. Me, already handled it. I didn't specify how. While I stirred my coffee, my laptop was open to a different tab. A message from an old college friend, Olivia, who managed property leases downtown. I'd sent her a text late last night. Still have that loft near the river? The one with the skylight? She replied at dawn. Yeah, 1 bedroom plus office. You sure you want it alone? Completely. The reply had felt like oxygen. By 9, I was standing in front of the building. Modern, clean lines. Gray brick. The kind of place where no one would ask whose toothbrush was in the holder. Olivia met me in the lobby, keyring jangling. You look like someone who made a big decision and didn't sleep much. Both true. She grinned. Let's see your new life then. The loft was perfect. Sunlight through tall windows. A tiny balcony overlooking the street. Enough space for one person to stretch out without apologizing for taking up room. I walked across the concrete floor, fingers trailing over the edge of the counter, the cool marble steady under my skin. I'll take it, I said. Olivia blinked. Don't you want to see the other units? No, this one's right. She laughed softly. You sound sure. I am. I signed the 2-year lease on the spot. The pen felt heavier than it should have, maybe because, for once, the only name on the line was mine. That evening, as I was unpacking the first box of dishes, my phone rang. Ethan. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity won. Hey, I said lightly. Hey, babe. His voice was cheerful, casual. So, did you talk to Janine? I did. And? I withdrew our offer. Silence. Then a short, confused laugh. Wait, you what? I withdrew it. I told her we're reconsidering. He stopped laughing. Why would you do that? We were this close to getting the house. I shifted the phone to my other ear and set a mug on the counter. I got to thinking about what you said, about being practical, smart planning. You're right. We shouldn't rush into something that big. So I signed a lease on a 1-bedroom loft instead. You signed a lease? His voice went up half an octave. Like, for yourself? Uh-huh. A pause. A 1-bedroom? What about me? You're keeping your apartment, remember? Just in case. This place is perfect for just me. That's not, I didn't mean, where am I supposed to live after the wedding? In your apartment, the one you're keeping. You said you'd still pay rent there. He exhaled sharply, somewhere between a laugh and a growl. Madison, that's ridiculous. I'm keeping it as backup. We're supposed to live together. Oh, that's confusing, I said softly. When you said you were keeping your apartment just in case, I assumed you'd be living there. My mistake. He didn't answer right away. Then, stop being petty. I'm not. I'm being practical. Smart planning, remember? Insurance. Madison, come on. I have to go, I interrupted. Olivia's helping me unpack. I hung up before he could respond. 20 minutes later, there was a furious knock at the door. I didn't have to look through the peephole. I could already feel the energy radiating through the wood. When I opened it, Ethan stood there, hair mussed, still in his work clothes. He pushed past me without asking, eyes wide. We need to talk about this misunderstanding. What misunderstanding? This. He gestured wildly around the loft. The house. The lease. You can't just back out like that. I can, actually. You opened my eyes. Makes sense to protect myself, too. That's not how it works, he snapped. I keep my place as backup, but we live in the house together. So you'd have an entire apartment sitting empty while I pay half the mortgage on a house you're hedging against? That doesn't sound fair. That's not what He ran a hand through his hair. It's about security, just having options. Then I'm having mine. He stared at me, searching for the version of me that used to smooth things over, make him feel safe. She wasn't here anymore. Finally, he shook his head. You're being dramatic. Or maybe I'm finally paying attention. The words landed like a slap. He flinched, then forced a smile. Fine, you made your point. Now undo it. I won't. You're seriously keeping this place? Yes. He looked around again, eyes cold. You'll regret this. Maybe, I said. But at least if I do, I'll have somewhere to stay, just in case. He left without another word, the sound of the door echoing like punctuation. The next few days were a blur of boxes and silence. He didn't text. I didn't call. Then came the group ambush. I was at the gym Saturday morning, earbuds in, halfway through my run, when 3 women intercepted me near the water fountain, Britt, Haley, and Jade, Ethan's closest friends. Hey, Madison, Britt said, arms crossed. We need to talk. I pulled out an earbud. About? Ethan, Haley said. Obviously. Jade stepped closer. You're ruining his life over nothing. I blinked. Nothing? He's been miserable, Britt said. He was just being smart about the apartment. You know how things can go. So do I. Haley sighed. He loves you. You're just overreacting. Interesting, I said. So when he plans for our marriage to fail, it's logical. But when I plan for my independence, it's overreacting? They exchanged looks. Jade said quietly, You make more money than he does. You don't have to worry about security the way we do. I took a long drink from my water bottle, keeping my eyes on her. So let me get this straight. I'm supposed to bankroll the house, ignore his escape plan, and feel flattered that he's planning for our failure because I can afford to? No one spoke. I see, I said finally. Then maybe he should marry one of you. Seems you understand his insurance policies better than I do. Britt's mouth opened, but I was already walking away, my sneakers squeaking against the floor. That night, alone in the loft, I sat by the window watching the city glow. The hum of cars below, the pulse of nightlife, all of it felt detached from me, like I'd stepped sideways into a new version of my own life. I thought about the look on Ethan's face when I'd told him the offer was withdrawn, the disbelief, the way people react when their own logic is mirrored back at them and they don't like what they see. He wanted to keep a door open. Fine, so did I. I texted Janine a thank you for handling the withdrawal so quickly. Then I sent another message to my bank, asking for confirmation that the earnest money from the offer had fully cleared back into my account. Because if Ethan had taught me anything, it was that trust might be beautiful, but documentation was safer. As I leaned back, the city lights reflected faintly in the window. Two silhouettes, me and the ghost of the woman who still believed in us. I'm done auditioning for Basic Respect, I whispered. Somewhere my phone buzzed again. A message from Ethan. Ethan, can we talk tomorrow? Please, I want to fix this. I looked at it for a long time, then set the phone face down on the table. He wanted to talk. I wanted to listen. To the part of me that had finally stopped begging to be understood. The loft was quiet except for the sound of my own steady breathing. For the first time in years, that silence didn't scare me. It felt like proof that I could build a life that didn't require anyone else's insurance. The following Wednesday, my phone started lighting up before I'd even finished my first coffee. At first, I thought it was work, early client pings, but then I saw the names. Patricia Brooks, Daphne Brooks, Ethan's mother, his sister. And beneath those, a dozen missed calls from Ethan himself. Something in me sighed, quietly, before I even opened a single message. The calm before a storm always has its own smell. By noon, the knock came, sharp, measured, the kind of knock you can't pretend not to hear. I opened the door to find Patricia standing there, her pearl earrings glinting like tiny shields, Daphne hovering behind her with arms crossed. Madison, Patricia began, her tone a perfect balance of kindness and command. Can we come in? I stepped aside. Of course. Patricia walked in like she was touring a property, her eyes flicking over the open floor plan, the minimalist furniture, the echo of independence in every corner. This is smaller than I imagined, she said finally. Perfect for one, I said, offering tea I knew they wouldn't accept. Daphne cut straight to it. Ethan's upset. He says you blindsided him. I set the kettle down a little too hard. He blindsided me first. Patricia exhaled through her nose. He was being cautious, dear. The world isn't easy for young men anymore. He just wanted security. I almost laughed. Security. What a pretty word for distrust. With respect, Patricia, I said evenly, I wanted security too. I just chose a different kind. She folded her hands. Ethan told me you withdrew your offer on the house. That's right. You didn't think to consult him first? He didn't consult me before announcing he'd keep a separate life. I simply took the same approach. Daphne scoffed. You're being vindictive. I looked at her. If equality feels like vengeance, maybe you're not used to being equals. Her mouth fell open. Patricia reached for grace again. This isn't the Madison we know. Ethan said you were rational. I am, I said. That's why I'm not signing a 30-year mortgage with someone who's already drafting our exit strategy. For a long moment, no one spoke. The only sound was the faint whistle of the kettle. Finally, Patricia said softly, You love my son, don't you? I met her eyes. Yes, but I love myself too. I just stopped treating those things like they're mutually exclusive. She blinked, looking momentarily unsure, like I'd handed her a puzzle without corners. Daphne grabbed her mother's arm. We're wasting our time. Let's go. As they left, Patricia turned back once, her face a mixture of pity and confusion. You'll regret losing him, Madison. Men like Ethan don't come around often. When the door shut behind them, I whispered to the empty room, Let's hope not. That night, the universe decided the situation needed an audience. I hadn't checked social media all day, but when my phone buzzed with 3 notifications from the same post, curiosity won. There it was. Ethan had uploaded a photo of himself standing in front of a mirror, suit jacket slung over his shoulder. The caption read, "Love my new place. Perfect for the bachelor life." The comment section was already a battlefield. Haley, wait, what? Thought the wedding was in 2 months? Britt, probably just joking. Last days of freedom. Jade, uh-oh. Trouble in paradise? And there it was, tagged to me. Madison Cole was mentioned in this post. I didn't comment. I didn't need to. The silence said enough. By morning, my phone was chaos. Friends, coworkers, my aunt in Texas, all asking some variation of, "Are you okay? What happened?" Ethan called at 9 a.m. I let it ring out. Then he texted, "Ethan, this is getting out of hand. You made me do this." I laughed out loud. Out of hand? No, Ethan, this was your hand. You just finally showed the cards. That afternoon, the knock came again, louder this time. When I opened the door, it wasn't just Ethan. He'd brought reinforcements, Patricia and Daphne again. This time, neither looked polite. "How dare you?" Ethan started before I could even speak. "Bachelor life? Really? Are you trying to humiliate me?" "Interesting," I said, leaning against the frame, "because when you humiliated me with your insurance policy, I was expected to be understanding." "This isn't about the apartment anymore," he snapped. "This is about respect." "Then you should have thought about that before announcing to half the city that you don't trust your fiancé." Patricia stepped forward. "Ethan made one small request. One small request that told me everything," I interrupted. Daphne crossed her arms. "You're overreacting." I looked at her and smiled faintly. Funny how often women are told that when they stop accepting less. Ethan's voice cracked then, the polished calm finally fracturing. "I just wanted security from my future wife. And I wanted honesty from my future husband." We stood there, the air between us electric and bitter. Then my phone buzzed in my pocket. I glanced down. A message from Janine, our realtor. I read it once, twice. Then I looked up at Ethan. "You tried to buy the house, didn't you?" I said quietly. His face flickered. "What?" "She just called," I said. "You called her yesterday, asking if the house was still available. Said you wanted to purchase it yourself." Patricia's head whipped toward him. "Ethan?" He stammered. I was just exploring options." "Options," I repeated. "Like using my original deposit as part of your solo down payment?" His silence was answer enough. Patricia looked horrified. Daphne's jaw dropped. Ethan finally spoke, defensive now. "You said you didn't want it. I was just trying to fix things." "By putting my name on a loan I didn't approve?" He flinched. "It's not like that." "It's exactly like that." For a second, I saw the man I used to love buried under all that fear and arrogance, the boy who'd once whispered to me about forever in a candlelit room. But this wasn't that boy. This was a man who'd built contingency plans for betrayal and called it logic. Patricia's voice was small when she spoke. "Madison, maybe this is just a misunderstanding." "It's not," I said. "It's a revelation." Ethan's voice broke into a plea. "I did all of this because I love you." I met his eyes. "No, you did all of this because you don't." The room went quiet, except for the hum of the city outside. Finally, I said softly, "You want an insurance policy, Ethan? Consider this the claim being filed." I walked to the door and opened it wide. He hesitated, eyes wet, mouth trembling. Patricia took his arm, guiding him toward the hall. Daphne glared at me over her shoulder. "You're throwing away everything." I shook my head. "I'm keeping what's mine." The door clicked shut behind them, leaving me with my reflection in the window. A woman who'd finally stopped negotiating with fear. I picked up my phone and typed one line into my notes app. If he wants insurance, he can insure his own loneliness. Then I set the phone down and breathed. Tomorrow, the world would spin its stories. Who left who ruined what. But tonight, the truth was simple. He kept his apartment just in case, and I finally kept my dignity. The fallout arrived faster than even I expected. By the weekend, the story had found its way everywhere, from family group chats to social media threads, each one twisting the truth into whatever version made people most comfortable. Ethan's friends said I'd panicked. His mother said I'd embarrassed him. And his sister? She went with the modern favorite, Madison's emotionally unavailable. But none of them mentioned the part where he tried to buy a house behind my back using my deposit. None of them wanted to say the word fraud in a family conversation. So I didn't argue. I didn't defend myself. I let them talk. Because I'd learned something important over the last few weeks. People always reveal who they are when you stop playing along. A few days later, Janine called again. Madison, she said, a strange mix of amusement and disbelief in her voice. You're not going to believe this. I smiled faintly. That sentence never ends well. Go on. Ethan just called me again. He wanted to know if there were any first-time buyer programs he could apply for alone. Alone? Yep, he said something about you two restructuring your finances. I let out a slow breath. What did you tell him? I told him the house he wanted is already sold, and that he'd need 20% down for a property that size. And? She chuckled. He asked if he could use the deposit you'd already put down as part of his down payment. I laughed before I could stop myself. He did not. Oh, he did. I told him no. Obviously, he hung up on me. Thank you, Janine, I said, for everything. Madison, she said gently, don't take this the wrong way, but you dodged something big. I know, I said quietly. I finally saw it before it hit me. A week later, new invitations appeared online. Beautiful, cream-colored, embossed. The text read, Madison Cole and Ethan Brooks invite you to celebrate their wedding and new home. Beneath the script font was an address, the same address of the house we'd withdrawn from. My mother called that night, her voice tight with worry. Honey, people are calling me asking if you moved back in with him. What is this address on the invitations? I closed my eyes. Mom, I didn't make those invitations. So he's... Yes, he's pretending we still bought the house. Oh, Madison. Yeah, I said. Oh, Madison. By morning, my phone was full of messages again. Trevor from work. Congrats on the new place. Britt from his friend group. So glad you two worked things out. And a dozen more from people who had no idea they were congratulating a ghost. I sent one message to Ethan. Take down the invitations. Tell people the truth. He replied instantly. Buy the house and it will be the truth. I stared at the text for a long time before responding. It's already sold, Ethan. Then buy a different one. With what down payment? You're keeping all your savings for your apartment. Use your savings. The ones I used for my loft? Pass. That evening, there was another knock. This time, when I opened the door, Ethan wasn't alone. He carried a folder, crisp, white, ominous, and his expression had shifted from hurt to manic optimism. I found the solution, he announced. He set the folder on my counter. Loan documents. For a house in a cheaper neighborhood. My name was typed neatly across the top. Madison Cole, primary borrower. My stomach turned cold. You started a loan application in my name? It's perfect, he said. The payment is less than the other house. You can afford it alone. Then we'll transfer it after the wedding. Ethan, this is fraud. It's not fraud. We're getting married. We're not married yet, I said. And you're keeping a separate apartment. He rubbed his forehead like I was the one being difficult. Stop twisting things. It's just paperwork. No, I said. It's a preview. His jaw tightened. If you don't fix this, the wedding is off. Okay. He blinked. Okay? That's all you have to say? Yes. If the price of marrying you is signing a loan I didn't authorize, I'll save the down payment and my sanity. He stared at me, eyes wild, mouth trembling. You can't call my bluff like that. I just did. He stormed out, slamming the door so hard it rattled the window pane. The following morning, the story hit Facebook. Daphne Brooks. My brother deserves better than a woman who won't commit. Madison is toxic. Britt. She's obsessed with control. He just wanted to protect himself. Haley. Imagine not trusting your own fiancé. I read them all. Every twisting, self-justifying sentence. And for the first time in my life, I didn't feel the need to correct anyone's version. Because the truth was louder than any rumor. I had the lease, the messages, the dates, the receipts. And Ethan? He had a backup apartment, a fake house, and a wedding that was rapidly unraveling. 2 weeks before the date, it was official. Ethan canceled the venue. He told his friends it was mutual. But a mutual breakup doesn't usually end with one person filing a fraud alert with their bank. It doesn't usually end with a mother leaving voicemails about damage control. It doesn't usually end with the silence of a man who finally realizes that every safety net he built was a trap of his own making. The night before what would have been our wedding, I poured a glass of wine and stood by the window of my loft. The city lights looked softer now, less like a battlefield, more like a map of exits I'd already taken. My phone buzzed again. Ethan, one last time. The apartment is too expensive on one income. My mom won't help. I had to sell my car. This is your fault. I took a slow sip of wine, then typed one line back. No, it's your insurance premium. I set the phone down, turned off the light, and watched my reflection fade into the night outside. The quiet didn't feel empty anymore. It felt earned. Somewhere below, the city kept moving, unaware that a woman in a 6th-floor loft had finally learned what security really meant. Not a contract, not an apartment key, not a house someone else could take. Just peace. A week later, I joined a new cycling group. That's where I met Alex. He asked if I'd like to grab coffee after the ride. I said yes, not because I was ready, but because I wasn't scared anymore. He listened when I told him I used to be engaged. He didn't ask what went wrong. He asked what I'd learned. And I told him the truth. That some people build safety nets under love because they already know they're planning to fall. He nodded, thoughtful. And you? I stopped auditioning for people who think trust is negotiable. He smiled, small and quiet. Good policy. Months later, I heard through a mutual friend that Ethan still had his apartment and a new roommate, one of his friend's cousins. Apparently, she kept her own place too. Just in case. I almost laughed. Because I finally understood some people mistake fear for foresight. But me? I'd rather risk heartbreak than live half a life waiting for it. He called it being practical. I called it showing his true colors. He kept his apartment just in case, and I kept my peace. For good.